Well, here we are. We are back again with All Things Fisker, episode number 38. I'm Sean, your host of All Things Fisker. I'm joined with my friend Matt from Ocean Views. How are you tonight, Matt?
Doing fine, doing fine.
Excellent, excellent. So we're live if you didn't know on YouTube. So thanks everybody for joining us. I just posted over here in the chat. I said, "Where's everybody joining us from tonight?" And it's going to be kind of interesting because we did some meetups over the weekend that we'll talk about in a little bit. Maybe we will have expanded our audience. Maybe some people will come and watch us, Matt. Who knows? But we've got an exciting show tonight. We've got a lot of updates, and especially for those that have been following along, take a minute to take a second and press the like button. And then also, if you haven't followed or subscribed to the Fiskerati channel, please go ahead and do that. Also, if you haven't subscribed to Matt's channel, Ocean Views, he can paste a link in the chat, and you can follow his channel as well. The interesting thing about tonight is we have a lot of fun stuff to share from the meetups that took place across the nation and as well across Europe. So we're going to get into that in just a minute. But tonight's episode, we're actually going to take a deep dive on Fisker's dealership strategy and some other topics such as the meetups. But we're also going to touch on the recent interview we did with Henrik Fisker and kind of, I wouldn't go as far as saying dissect it, but we're gonna talk about some of the themes of the questions that I asked him, and we're gonna answer and clarify some questions that people had in the blog post that I wrote with the interview. So hopefully provide a little bit more clarity. Now, if you haven't already done so, there is a poll in the chat right now. There's a poll question, and it looks like we have 47 people, now 49 people, who have voted for the poll, and we're just a few minutes into this, Matt, so we got some good participation on the poll. The question is for those who listen to this in the podcast form, and I should have mentioned that, there is a All Things Fisker podcast, and it's viewed, listened to, I don't know how many hundreds of times a week. Could be even 1,000 by now. Who the heck knows? But it's on like Spotify and iHeartRadio, a bunch of other Apple podcasts, all that stuff. So if you're into podcasts, you can listen to it. And thanks for joining us live for those that are following along on YouTube. But that poll question for those that aren't able to go ahead and take it right now. The poll question we're asking on the YouTube live stream is the following. Have you ever made a purchase without test driving it beforehand? A car purchase, I should say. Have you ever made a car purchase without test driving it beforehand? There's 4 options to choose from. First option, yes, purchased without a test drive. Second option, no, always test drive first. Third option, considered but opted against it. And the last and fourth option, prefer test driving. So we're going to go ahead and share those results later on in the episode. And it kind of ties into the theme, I believe, of the dealership strategy. Test drives is one component of that. And personally, I believe it's probably the most important thing. And we're going to talk about that here in just a minute. So let's go ahead and jump right into the dealership strategy, Fisker's dealership strategy. Matt, how's that sound?
Sounds good.
Cool. So last week we talked about this briefly. We talked about, because Matt and I haven't done one of these shows in a good month and a half or so, and that was probably one of the biggest news events that happened in the new year. I believe it was the 4th of January. Fisker said we're more or less stopping in the United States, North America, the direct-to-consumer approach of selling our vehicles. We're going straight to dealers. In Europe, it's going to be a hybrid of both Fisker Center Plus locations, the Fisker lounges, both the direct-to-consumer, but also the dealer. So a little bit different between our continent and in Europe, but there's some interesting tidbits that we're going to share today about the dealership strategy, and I hope everybody finds these insights kind of interesting. The one thing that I found kind of interesting was that let me actually go back and tell a little bit more about the dealership partnership model here for the people that are just kind of tuning in for the very first time. So Fisker announced this change, as I mentioned, at the beginning of the year. The beginning I guess the beginning of the year, the beginning of the month. It's moving quickly towards a dealer partnership model in North America. And as I mentioned, it will use that hybrid model in Europe, continuing to do direct sales as well as to consumers as well as dealership arrangements. But one thing that Fisker ended up doing, they actually came out yesterday. I follow Fisker all over the place, and I saw a bit of news that probably not everybody caught. In a brief span, though, of a week, we did an interview with Henrik Fisker. I believe it was on Tuesday or Wednesday of last week. We published it on Friday. And at that time, Henrik told us that Fisker has seen a substantial increase in interest, I would say, from car dealers. They've already gotten about 65 dealers that were interested in this partnership to become a partner dealer. And that number has grown in the short time of 1 week. It's gone from 65 dealers to over 100 plus dealers. Now, Matt, did you see? You may not have seen this, but you may have. Fisker released 2 new bits of information in the past, I would say, 24 hours about the dealership, the dealer partnership program. Have you seen those anywhere?
I have not.
Okay, so the first one is this, and it'll be interesting to see if anyone else has caught this. There's actually 3 things. I'm going to save the best one for the end here. The first one, Fisker Investor Relations, for those that are on Reddit and StockTwits, Fisker Investor Relations is now posting again on social media. They're answering retail shareholder questions, which I thought was an interesting tidbit. How this relates to the dealer partnership program, they said this. They said the dealer partnership program is a deliberate move, which we believe suits the needs of the company and its investors. We're excited about the potential with 100 plus dealers already expressing interest. Today, Fisker ended up then posting, quote, full speed ahead, our dealer partner model is gaining momentum with over 100 dealers showing interest in the US, Canada, and Europe. It's over a 50% increase from when we spoke to Henrik last week as far as interest goes. He reported to us 65 dealers were interested, now it's over 100. The other interesting tidbit is this. Fisker ended up saying that they are going to, on social media, they didn't publish this widely, but they said that they're going to actually stream live from the 2024 National Automobile Dealers Association show in Las Vegas next week. They didn't say when they were going to do it. However, I went and found out on the website. It now came up on the event section of the NADA website, or maybe what some people call in the business the NADA, organization. And the interesting thing is Fisker is going to present on February 2nd. They're going to take the stage live. It's called the live stage. They're going to take the live stage at the National Automobile Dealers Association show from 3:30 p.m. to 3:50 p.m. Pacific time. So that'll be the first public speech that we're going to see about, I'm guessing, this new dealer partnership program. And I would expect Fisker is going to go ahead and publish something maybe to their YouTube channel or maybe to social media. Maybe there'll be a link or maybe it'll be a press release. Who knows? But if they share details on how to watch this live stream, we'll let all of the people following along with us know about how to tune into that. So that's going to be interesting. Now, the reason why I believe, and I'm sure Fisker believes this as well, and I'd love to get your take, Matt, the 3 pronged strategy, if you will, for this dealership model that they're going to, as opposed to direct to consumers. I believe it's to get people behind the wheel of the Fisker Ocean. However, they say that being one of them, they also say that it's for sales and delivery. So Fisker believes that it's this test drive network, the sales network, and the delivery network. of the three, and I'd love to get your take, Matt. And I'll explain after you kind of share your tidbits. But the having gone to the meetups, having talking to people by email, phone, over social media, getting people behind the wheel of the Fisker Ocean is probably the single most important thing to generate sales. And I believe that more now than ever, as Fisker has only sold 4,700 vehicles of a reservation book of 65,000. So there's a bunch of reasons maybe why people aren't possibly throwing money hand over fist to buy the Fisker Ocean. I think the number one reason at this given state, given we've seen kind of changes in the market, the EV market, is I need to test drive the car. It's a big purchase. I need to get behind the wheel. What are your take on this dealer partnership model? There's the three-prong approach, the three prongs of the strategy. It was the sales, delivery, and test drives. What are your thoughts on those? And then I'll share why I believe test drives are probably the most important.
Yeah, I agree. I think the test driving is really important. Previously, they were able to do that with the events in different parts of the country, but it wasn't getting everywhere that they needed to be. This will allow them to have a much bigger footprint since the country is so big and spread out. I totally agree. For test drives is number one. Also having just that physical presence. In addition, for delivery, having a delivery location that's in a local area. I think also service is going to be important too, because right now it's going to be a combination of mobile service along with maybe regional service centers. And with the dealerships, if they can do that, that should fill in the gaps, I think, for service, because I think that's extremely important.
Mm-hmm. So to your point, they get an instant footprint, or it's a one-to-many strategy. And in business, that's kind of the key for scaling, is how can I reach as many customers with the least amount of effort or the least amount of work, like one-to-many. And we know Fisker shared sometime early December, I think it was, that they had completed 3,500 test drives globally. So 3,500 test drives, they sold roughly for 2023, 4,700, I should say, 4,700. Hopefully I said that earlier when I said the number, 4,700 vehicles approximately in 2023. So the 3,500 test drive, not far off from the total number of vehicles they sold. I personally believe that only so many people, usually it's people who are very early adopters in technology, will kind of buy something without testing it first. I purchased my previous electric vehicle without testing it. We bought it, and then we eventually were able to test it like a day before it was delivered. But we were all in regardless. Same with the Fisker Ocean. You can see I did test drive it before I bought it, but as a consumer, I didn't test drive it. As a media person, I got a chance to test drive it. But it was another vehicle, very big purchase that we bought and paid for without fully getting a real kick of the tires, driving around the neighborhood, going on the freeway. And after going to the meetup, not just the meetup on Saturday, but previous meetups, and talking with actual customers where there have been test drive opportunities, that's what they needed to get over the finish line in order to actually spend 50,000 for, say, an Ultra, or 70,000 for an Extreme, or whatever the new price is, 62,000 or whatever it may be. So getting people behind the wheel is the single most important thing to get a sale. And the sale is what, at the end of the day, this company's in business, Fisker's in business to make money. Selling cars is what they need to do. Giving people a very easy, accessible place that's there all the time to go test drive a car, or to get service after purchasing the car, I think is the reason why Fisker's going to this model. The test drives, though, having talked to, I would say, a dozen people in San Diego at the meetup, they actually came to the event to test drive the car. That was the main reason they came to the event. And yeah, they could have driven up to Vista, or they could have driven up to the Grove, But they decided, hey, I want to go to the place where I can not only test drive the vehicle, I can see virtually every Fisker Ocean configuration out there in the flesh, in person, which you'll probably be able to do at dealerships. But then also they were able to talk to owners. That was kind of the icing on the cake for a lot of these people. But at our meetup, we ended up seeing 12, well over 12. I want to say like 15 test drives at our location alone, here in San Diego, location being the meetup. So I thought that was, I from just hearing people, they needed to get behind the wheel in order to feel comfortable making the purchase. And that's what I believe Fisker needs to do to convert the rest of the people that they have reservations for. That's going to be there will be onesies and twosies, hundreds of people a month, maybe thousands that may buy a Fisker Ocean without test driving it. But I believe the bulk of the people need a test drive. So I want to share some more stuff that maybe sheds some more light on this. Fisker ended up saying that in a recent press release, so there's this emphasis on test drives. Henrik ended up saying that quote, Fisker, it will increase the number of test drive events it conducts in the US and Europe because the company has witnessed, quote unquote, a higher sales rate after customers experience the Ocean firsthand. So how the dealerships are going to give customers the ability to experience the Fisker Ocean firsthand, and that's pretty much what we're looking at for the dealership model. It also does something really, really important for the company. It ends up allowing the company to sell, like we mentioned last week, in states that they may not be able to sell directly to customers now due to state regulations. Henrik mentioned when we talked to him in our interview that, and they happen to be some of the states that we talked about last week. Henrik ended up saying that the initial states are likely to be where they sell direct, through dealerships are California, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Illinois, Florida, and Maryland. Whoa, you're typing like a maniac over there. Yeah, it's super loud.
Yeah, I'll turn that off.
You're doing it. You're going for it in the chat. That's nice. But so the first thing, we may not have mentioned this last week because we didn't have this information. We did the interview with Henrik on, I believe, Tuesday or Wednesday of last week. We published it on Friday. And he said at the time, we asked him, when would the first Fisker Oceans actually hit dealerships? And in the press release, all they say is the end of Q4. But we actually found out that it'll be the week of February 5th in both the United States and Europe. We don't know how many dealers will launch with vehicles in their showroom or Fisker Oceans in their showroom, but there may be one or two. It could be a little bit more than that. My guess, if I had to guess, and I do a lot of guessing on this show, Fisker will have at least one major partnership before they take the stage at the NADA conference or the NADA show, the NADA show before February 2nd. That's a guess. Could be totally wrong, but I believe they're going to have a partnership that they announce. Maybe they bring somebody on stage with them. They talk a little bit about what they're doing. And it's, I believe, a pretty compelling value proposition for companies to have a company that wants to sell exclusively their electric vehicles and only electric vehicles. It's a pure EV company at dealerships, as opposed to having to carry, not only a manufacturer's EVs, but also their internal combustion engine vehicles. That's not what Fisker is doing here. It's saying, hey, we're going to have, the Fisker Ocean right out of the get-go, and we have future vehicles that you're going to be able to take and sell on your lots too, that being Alaska and PEAR, and maybe the Ronin at some point. So I thought that's kind of interesting. And then also too, it's a way for the the companies to do full service and to provide, not just the sales of the car, but the service of the vehicles, to potentially generate additional revenue and to drive customer satisfaction, which as a Fisker Ocean customer, I would love to be able to go visit my local dealership, take my car in and get things sorted out, as opposed to having to wait my turn for a mobile service tech to come to my home. So there's a lot of reasons for me to want to continue to maybe go back into the dealership. And the cool thing is Fisker's no haggle price, which is on their website. They publish all the prices of their cars, very straightforward. Those same prices are expected to remain at these dealerships where they can offer the no haggle pricing. So
hey, Sean,
have you? Yeah, go for it.
I just want to add another important thing to do with the dealerships is a lot, and I think we mentioned it in the previous video, is the number of states that restrict car sales by non-dealerships. And I think that's pretty important because those areas, basically the cars have to be shipped in separately, and it's just such a hassle. By having dealerships, I think it'll be more direct. And I'm trying to remember how many states it is. It's somewhere around,
I think it was like 13.
13.
Yeah, I think 13 is what we looked up. The interesting thing too is Fisker wants, they said in the original press release, they wanted to have 50 dealer partners in the US and Canada as a part of this network of dealers that they're building out. And they very well may be on their way with interest of over 100. And it'll be interesting to see what happens next Friday when they take the stage at that dealership. That's kind of the big news for the people who are following along on tonight's episode. We didn't know that before, and maybe people sleuth and detective work on their own figured that out. But I found out the time that they were doing it. I think that's going to be I think it's going to be a very important day for us to get more information as not only as stakeholders, whether you're an owner, whether you're a shareholder, whether you're an employee, maybe even of the company, a partner. I think it's going to be a very interesting day and good day to get more information from the company on that. Now, how I think this, I kind of touched on it just a minute ago, but the one thing that people have said is they wanted the firsthand experience getting behind the wheel of the showrooms. And to this particular day, it doesn't seem like Fisker's abandoning their direct to consumer model right now until they totally transfer over to this dealership strategy. But I'm seeing daily people going into Center Plus locations, going into lounges and saying, hey, I've test drove the Fisker Ocean. I'm going ahead with my reservation. I'm seeing on the official Facebook group, as maybe a lot of people who are a part of, who are watching and following along today are seeing as well. And even on Fiskerati forums, the first Fisker Ocean Sport was delivered to somebody who signed up to say, hey, I've been following along, for a while, and I joined the forum, and here's my Fisker Ocean Sport. I was told I was the first one to get it here in the United States. So that was actually pretty neat. But people are taking delivery of Fisker Ocean 1s still at a slower pace, but they're still doing those. If I had to guess, I would say there's under 100 left. Who knows? But we're seeing extreme deliveries, and I'm seeing a lot of ultra deliveries. You met up last couple weeks ago, maybe, with somebody who took delivery of an ultra, and that was pretty cool to see the side-by-side comparison with your Ocean 1. And then we've seen, at least a Sport delivered in Europe, and then the Sport over here, and hopefully there's a lot more of those to come. But let's jump into the meetups. There's going to be a tie-in to the dealership model maybe you already know it, but there's a tie-in, at least an insight from it, and I mentioned a little bit about it earlier. But tell me about your meetup experience, Matt. What was that all about, and what'd you guys do in Raleigh?
Sure. It was a great event. The only problem was it was kind of cold. It was like one of the coldest days of the year. It was in the 20s, and that's not very common in our area. But it was at least blue sky and no rain. So I consider that at least a win. But we had, as you mentioned, we had quite a few people go for test drives. we had a number of people that either were order holders or were looking at ordering the Ocean. So I thought that was great that the sales rep was able to bring a Fisker Ocean in from Charlotte, which is about 2.5 hours away. He drove it in and gave a number of test drives. I thought that was great. We had also an HR employee that is in the Raleigh area, and she had picked up all the refreshments and all the other stuff for the event. So that was good too. Interesting talking to them about the company itself, since they're, Fisker does have a number of virtual employees around the country. So it was just interesting learning about that too. So they're more contacts now. So that's also
their whole to your point there, their recruiting or their HR team, recruiting team is scattered all throughout the United States. In fact, that was a lot of the people who showed up, or those were a lot of the employees that showed up at the events, in addition to the sales reps that came out who actually had the Fisker Oceans to do the test drives. And then on top of that, we saw mobile service technicians, right? We had, I believe you guys had a mobile service technician.
We had two. So that was really
super.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw in your video that you posted, for those that haven't seen it, Matt posted a video of the Raleigh meetup, the Fisker Ocean meetup. And in one of the, I'm guessing he was one of the techs, he ended up having the hood up of a Fisker Ocean. He said, yeah, those orange, anything orange in the car, that'll kill you. Don't touch it. And I thought, oh, okay, that's interesting. Good to know. You probably already knew that, but yeah, for those that don't, anything orange underneath the hood will kill you of your Fisker Ocean. And for those that didn't know about the Fisker Ocean meetups, I'll give a quick blurb on it. So on January 20th, it was this past Saturday, Fisker Ocean owners gathered at 24 meetups in 15 states across the United States, as well as 6 locations in Europe. Now, I actually called every single host in the United States. I didn't talk to anybody in Europe. I believe Fisker hosted all the ones in Europe. But I called Matt. I called every single host. I see, I see Tommaso on here, but he didn't host. He ended up going to the one in Manhattan Beach. I see Franklin, who's in the Miami area. He hosted. I see Kevin on here, who hosted the Houston event. I see Paul. Hello, Paul. He came and joined me over in San Diego. But there was a fair number of people, 24 people in the United States that hosted these events. I called all of them. And after speaking to them, I estimate somewhere probably just north of 750 Fisker Oceans that actually were owners that brought their vehicle on site, both from here in the United States and then also in Europe. So that's quite a bit of cars. And if people remember from last episode, I mentioned that we had 1,200 RSVPs. 1,200 people RSVP'd up until last week. I think when we do the show on Thursday last week, a week ago, we had 1,200 RSVPs. After we did the show, and we started telling people, hey, Fisker's going to be at the meetups, and they're gonna help support us and show their support, like we're showing our support for them. We saw an influx. I want to say just over 2,100, almost 2,200 RSVPs. So a lot of people said, hey, I'm super interested in going, both owners and then people who were prospective customers. So that was quite interesting. A really good turnout, the biggest turnout that we've ever had doing the meetups. So that was neat to see. And as I mentioned earlier, I probably spoke to several dozen people, but there was a lot of people who came over and wanted to chat about what it was like being a Fisker Ocean owner, Fisker customer. I shared my, candid experiences with them. They got to test drive the vehicle. That's what did it for them. They said, now that we've spoken to you and some of the other owners here and got behind the wheel, we're doing this. So welcome aboard to the people who are going to soon be Fisker Ocean customers. But that's what it took. And we can't do meetups. Like the coolest thing about the meetups, like me and Paul did the first one over in Rancho Santa Fe. And then we did one over in San Clemente. We did one over in San Diego at the Torrey Pines Lodge, and then one in Tustin. And this was the best one because we replicated what we did the second time. Well, we did the one in Tustin last time. George up in the Bay Area did one in Los Altos. And I thought, if we can do one here in San Diego and one in Los Altos, why couldn't we do them all across the country on the same day? And it worked out, Matt. You killed it over there. You guys had like 40 Oceans show up. And if I'm marketing the one in San Diego, why not market the one in there we go. There we go. So if I'm going to market the meetup that I want to attend here in San Diego, I may as well help everybody out and market the ones across the United States. And that's what we did. And such a great success. But if you take that one day, that 3-hour window, and you put that at 50 dealerships everywhere across the United States, at least 50 dealers. Fisker said they want to be in 50 dealer partnerships. And granted, we're not going to have a meetup every single day at a dealership, but you're putting these cars where people can access them and see all the configurations. They can talk to knowledgeable people about the vehicles. They can get service with the vehicles. They can get their license plates, their registrations sorted out instantly when they purchase the car. They can actually go onto the lot and buy these vehicles the same day, which you couldn't do at the meetups. I think it's going to be a huge win for Fisker. It's to me, it's like taking one step back to hopefully take 2 steps forward. That's kind of the way that I look at it. I never thought Fisker would do the dealership model when I started covering the company, but now they are. It kind of makes sense with the asset-light model. And it very much does seem like a deliberate, move. It is a pivot, and I believe it's going to be hopefully a good pivot for everyone involved. But back to the Ocean meetups. They took place in San Diego, Costa Mesa, Manhattan Beach, Pasadena, Los Altos, Portland, Seattle, Scottsdale, Las Vegas, Reno, Denver, Boulder area, Dallas, Houston, Chicago, Detroit, Nashville, Atlanta, Orlando, Tampa Bay, Miami, South Miami, Raleigh, Tyson's Corner, and Trenton, New Jersey, as well as 6 other locations across Europe. I would have to say it was by far a success, and the date that I chose, it's just me, and I've kind of, probably first time you're hearing it, Matt, but I'm going to target the next ones on April 20th. So it's the Saturday before Earth Day. It's like Earth Day weekend, if you will. And what I'm planning to do here in San Diego, I don't know what any other owners or hosts are planning to do, but I'm going to do some sort of a Fisker Ocean meetup / beach cleanup. So meetup and cleanup is kind of what I'm planning for us to celebrate Earth Day together with our Fisker Oceans. And the reason is one, it's an important weekend to celebrate Earth and to do our, we should do our part every day, but it's a day we can all come together in our local communities, and in my case, San Diego, and maybe clean up some trash in the vicinity, maybe do a beach cleanup or do something near the beach. Because everyone always ends up beating everybody out there early and cleans up all the trash. There's never any trash on the beach. So we might go, a different direction. But the most important thing is I believe that will draw in a crowd of people that want to clean up that don't already know about the Fisker Ocean. So we do 2 things. We help the environment. We actually do 3 things. We get to talk as Fisker Ocean owners again. 3 months has passed from the last one. And we get to share anecdotes. We get to exchange stories, tips and tricks, get to, build camaraderie like we did this past weekend. But then the third one is introduce new people to the Fisker Ocean. And it's an audience that's already very, I believe, earth conscious or wants to help out the environment. And I think it'll be an opportunity to bring new people in that may have otherwise never known about Fisker or the Fisker Ocean. So that's my thinking that I'm sharing for the first time tonight. But if that sounds interesting to other people, I'd love to hear in the comments. That's an idea for you. I don't think you have a beach cleanup near you, but maybe there's something like that. We could
do river and lake cleanups is also another thing. So
yeah, and our beach parking lots are huge and would be a great place to host a lot of cars without lots of people getting in the way. And that, let me share a photo. let's see here. Let me share a photo. Mark took this photo and he posted a video online, which I shared the other day. But this video I thought was actually really cool. It shows the Fisker meetup in San Diego and all the cars. It's just a photo. He's got an actual video of this, but it's a, let's see here. How can I pull it up? Share my screen. Here it is for those that are watching along. So it's the parking lot of a Ralph shopping center. It's the north side of the shopping center in between a Chase Bank and a Wells Fargo. That's kind of where the bulk of the cars are. There's how many, I don't know how many, 20 cars or so on the right. And then there's a bunch more on the left. And like you said, you counted 35 Fisker Oceans at one time. And then you kind of started losing track. People came and left. That was the same with our meetup. I counted like 45 at one time. Paul can confirm, maybe he counted more, but we had well over 50 people show up with their Fisker Oceans throughout the 3-hour period of time. But there was groups of people all over. There was groups, a big group of people, as you can see kind of in the bottom, middle right-hand side of the screen. And then there was one above, one over there. It was the first time I actually saw a Fisker Ocean in stealth green. I had never seen a Fisker Ocean in stealth green before. I don't know if you have. Have you seen one of those yet?
Nope, not yet.
No. Okay. And then it was on I believe it was an Ultra too. So it was an Ultra in stealth green. And then we saw a couple other Ultras as well. And what else did we see? I think those were the two main things that we saw. Someone brought they had gotten their Fisker Ocean Ultra, I want to say the day before, and it was a white one, great white, and it had white or the sea salt interior. And their child was so excited about it. They had the open sky roof open, and the child must have stood on the white seats. You could see footprints on it from their shoes, and I was like, "Oh my god, I have a heart attack!" But it was cool. It was cool to see all those cars there, and man, was it fun to see everybody and chat, and man, it was good. And I went through before I got there. I still had these on my desk. All the microfiber cloths that I used to wash my vehicle the night before here still need to put those away. Those are sitting over there. But yeah, man, that was such a blast. Hundreds of people came out to our event. Gone through, I want to say it was 5 gallons of coffee, 100 bagels. It was wild. So the next one, mark your calendars for those that actually are interested in going to these. I'm going to reach out to Fisker and say, hey, April 20th, that's the date I'm targeting. Hopefully you guys are on board. If you want to join us, great. If you don't, that's great too. But if we can gain a more critical mass than we did this last time, I don't see why they wouldn't join us. And I believe we're going to do better than 2,500 people on the next go. We're going to be at more locations, and we're going to have more people with Fisker Oceans. And so the target is 2,500 RSVPs. My last goal was 750 to 1,000. We ended up over 2,000. This next one's going to be 2,500. So that's the goal, Matt. We'll see how we do. We got 3 months. We're doing our part. We're doing our part over here.
Yeah, I'm up for it.
Sounds good. We got 2. Yeah. We got 2. Maybe Tommaso will be the third up in LA, and maybe we can. We got Glenn Kahn in there. Maybe he can host the one over in Chicago, unless Brady wants to do that one as well. Maybe you guys partner together. So many people that have been a part of the forum. That's who I reached out to. All the people on the Fisker Audi forum who we've built relationships with this past year and a half that we've been doing it, and people were so generous of wanting to host these. So it was so great, such a good experience. Okay, so let's move along. We talked enough about meetups. Let's talk about the next thing. This is a fun one, and then we'll talk about future models of Fisker electric vehicles, the Fisker Alaskan PEAR. So I chatted to Matt about this briefly. There's a really cool YouTube video that I stumbled across, I think on Monday or Tuesday of the week, of a Canadian by the name of Bruce, his brother Hugh, and they travel from southern Ontario to Calgary in their Fisker Ocean in blistering cold, sub-zero weather. And it was a 40-minute video, kind of like a video journal. And they basically share their trials and tribulations of charging along the Canadian EV charging network. And I just couldn't stop watching. It was 40 minutes long, and I watched every minute of it. It was really good. So for those, and have you seen that, Matt? Did you mentioned
No.
you heard of it, right?
I have heard about it. I got to check it out when I get a chance.
And I thought it was of a lot of the videos that I see out there. It's hard to keep my interest throughout the entire 100% of the video, and for some reason, I just wanted more. I was like, oh my God, it's so cold. How are they doing that? He's not even wearing gloves. They got their window down. What are they doing? But it was just so much fun to see. So hopefully everybody gets a chance to check that one out. That was pretty fun. That is kind of timely, I thought, because at least in our state down here, or our city, we're getting a lot of, not only do we have flash floods, we had like crazy flash floods over the weekend. So our meetup, not too cold, but it started raining at the very end of it. And then the next 3 days, it was like crazy rainstorms. On Monday was the worst. And I believe people were flooded. Cars were like floating down the street in San Diego. Up here where I'm at, not so bad, but lots of rain. A couple of floods here and there, but we managed to survive. But crazy weather, and I see on the news quite often here, at least, with there was the big story all last week of people getting stuck in Tesla cars or electric vehicles in Chicago because it was freezing cold. And the host of the Chicago meetup said, "Oh my God, I don't know how many people are going to show up because it's so cold here." He had a great turnout. It was quite a big turnout of people showed up to his meetup. And the interesting thing that I thought of, all these people were having difficulty charging their Fisker Ocean in the freezing cold. And this guy publishes this video at the time where everyone's having difficulty, and he's barreling down the highway in Canada, and he's charging left, he's charging right, and he just didn't. He had some problems here or there, but not what we saw on the news. So super good. When you did your range analysis a while back, was the weather freezing when you did it, or was it not so bad when you did your like 300+ mile drive?
It was not bad. It was in the mid 50s. So
that's not bad.
That's our normal temperature in the winter. We get 40s and 50s. So it wasn't that bad. And I got just under 300 miles.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. So I, as the car battery is cold, like the freezing cold makes it harder to charge. And we did see that in his video. But he was getting like, I want to say in certain times when it was like sub-zero temperatures, he was getting like 50 kilowatts. And I thought, hey, that's not too bad, in such cold weather. So very interesting. We're checking out. It's on the Fiskerati site. If you haven't seen it, you'll see a picture of, the gentleman Bruce wearing his plaid shirt, and it's just a great video. I don't know why I had to mention that. I just really enjoyed it. So let's talk about the Henrik Fisker interview that I did. There's a couple bits of information that a few people asked about, and the one that I wanted to address on tonight's show of All Things Fisker was the future model section of that write-up that I published on Friday. It was about Fisker Alaska and Fisker PEAR. And we asked Henrik Fisker about the status of the Fisker PEAR and Alaska. And he ended up basically telling us that, verbatim, more or less, it was the launch timelines for Alaska and PEAR are closely aligned. He basically told us, and I'm going to actually provide the direct quote for this, was on Alaska and PEAR, Alaska will come at the end of 2025 with PEAR to follow. Now, that doesn't mean necessarily that PEAR, like there was never a mention in the comments of this article, people just automatically assume that PEAR is 2026 and it's not 2025. That very well could be, but that's not what Henrik said. He just said PEAR will follow Alaska. So I just wanted to kind of clear that and provide that quote for those that hadn't seen it, that follow the YouTube channel and the show here. So the company's working on that. The other thing that they recently did this week they actually announced that they ended up reporting a new agreement with an investor, and that agreement with one of their debt holders will allow them to basically do a strategic OEM partnership. It's going to provide them enough breathing room where they're going to be able to do some sort of a potential partnership. So I would imagine that that partnership, if it were to happen, is going to be for these future model EVs that will be sold on dealer lots, that being the PEAR and the Alaska. So that is kind of I thought interesting. They have the ability now with their biggest one of their biggest note holders to they got enough breathing room now, enough wiggle room in their contracts to actually go out and do a deal. So that to me was some big news. As a Fisker shareholder, I know Matt's a Fisker shareholder. I am. I'm not big shareholders, but we have to disclose that we are shareholders when we talk about this stuff. And I thought that was a positive sign. It doesn't mean a deal is going to get done, but it gives them the ability to get a deal done. And being in the shoes of a potential partner, I would want to make sure that Fisker has got their house in order with their finances in order to actually complete a deal. So that was a very positive bit of information we learned. I believe we learned that this week on Monday. So that was some new news. We wrote about that on the site. You can find that one if you want more information. And then we actually learned something after the next day after we did the last All Things episode. Fisker issued a statement about the NHTSA preliminary evaluation. We saw a couple of things pop up on social media, on the forums, about the regenerative braking and people having issues. I think there was over a dozen that had been reported to the NHTSA. And now there is a preliminary evaluation. Fisker ended up issuing a statement that said the NHTSA Office of Defects Investigations preliminary evaluation of reported braking issues with the 2023 Fisker Ocean. They're fully cooperating with the NHTSA on the matter. The company ended up providing additional information saying that, let's see here what they say. Let's see here. I should actually mention, for those that aren't aware, if you don't have a Fisker Ocean or you do have a Fisker Ocean, the Fisker Ocean brake system uses both friction braking and regenerative braking. So kind of like a golf cart where you let go of the accelerator and the car slowly slows down. There's different settings in the Fisker Ocean. You have like low, medium, and high. I always keep mine on high, so it slows me down the quickest when I let go of my foot on the accelerator. But in December 2023, Fisker responded to customer feedback for people who were going over uneven surfaces or bumps where the regen might kick off. And they went ahead and issued an over-the-air update to address this concern. And I believe that was in version 1.10, and it should have resolved the issue. So for the people who own Fisker Oceans and get their software updated to the latest version, I think the latest version is 1.11. And that should resolve the issue for those that had reported it to the NHTSA. And Matt, what version are you on? Have you gotten part 2 yet of 1.11?
No, I'm still part 1. And it's
Same
funny,
here.
is my car was at the PPF ceramic shop while it got 11.1. So it's 1.11. So it was like I never even got to see that install, but that's the only update my car's had. So
yeah,
because it arrived with 1.10. So
okay. So I learned something interesting. You may already know this, but I learned this at the owner meetup. There was somebody who had, I want to say, version 1.05 on their car. They came to the meetup to specifically get the latest version of software. The techs that were at the meetup could upgrade to version 1.10, and then they could request through the back end a software update over the air to version 1.11. That's what they were doing, at least at our meetup. Maybe it was the same at every meetup. This individual, though, and I learned something from this individual, what happened is that the vehicle, this owner's vehicle, ended up getting an update to version 1.10, and the service tech initiated a request to have the first part of version 1.1 sent to the vehicle. Before that customer left, they did come to the meetup with a 35% battery. Fisker says you need to have a high voltage battery of 35% or more, which we let people know who wanted to have the software updated in their vehicle when they came to the event. If it's under 35%, it puts too much of a strain doing the software update on the 12-volt battery. So this particular individual, I learned why, I have no idea, but that's what I learned. And this customer had under 35%, and they saw, when they left the event, they saw the pop-up come on that says, hey, we'll upgrade your software right now to version 1.11 part 1, and they hit it with the vehicle having less than 35% battery. I don't know what it was, but it was less than 35%. When they left, you have to leave your car, lock your car, all that stuff, and while the update's going. And they went and shopped at the Rouse. Well, lo and behold, the update, because it didn't have 35% battery to do part 1 of 1.11, the car died in the middle. The 12-volt battery killed it basically died, and it couldn't operate and complete the update. So that ended up resulting in the Fisker techs being there and helping the customer out to get back on the road. But I thought, wow, that's interesting. So that's it. I guess when Fisker says, make sure you have 35% battery, here's my PSA for those people, public service announcement, make sure you have 35% before you press the button so that you don't put a strain on your battery. I don't know. I didn't know that. Did you know that? You need.
Yeah, I just saw that in the invitation for the event that they recommended above 35%, and that's the first time I'd seen that. I mean, obviously they could make it part of the software to check that, because I know my iPhone, when I update and it's too low, I think it's under 50%, it won't
let you do it.
So. They should be able to do that so the car doesn't brick itself and stuff. So
100%,
I mean,
100%.
That's definitely something Fisker needs to add with their update process.
Yes, maybe we should add that one to the software update list, or the requested software improvements.
Yes,
that's.
I don't know. That was kind of slowing down for a while. I was like, okay, we have like 100 items.
There's a lot of stuff on there. That's a critical one, though. That's a critical one, though. Yeah, that's crazy. So that was a little bit that we learned from that meetup. But yeah, so I think I said the TSA, that update stuff has been fixed in 110. If you have 110, great. If you don't, get that. And I want to say over 20 people at our meetup ended up getting software updates. So just imagine if there's a dealership, right? We're talking about dealerships and customers buying the car on a dealer. I would imagine after you buy the car from the dealer or soon thereafter, you can actually, my guess is they're going to have service techs there that make sure every vehicle is up to date with the latest software before you take it home. That's what should happen when a car is delivered, but that's not always the case. So I just can't wait to have these dealerships. There are a lot of other benefits to doing it that I'm not going to get into around finances and stuff. But I guess one more thing that I'm gonna tie. It probably doesn't tie in, but I'm gonna bring it up anyways. Fisker, as we know, has sold 4,700 cars as of end of 2023. That means they probably have over 5,000 left in inventory, or somewhere near 5,000, given they probably sold a little bit between the end of whenever they reported that at the end of the year and January 25th. So let's say they have 5,000 cars. The interesting thing about this dealer partnership model, trying to tie this back in, the people that came to the meetup, when they go to these dealerships, they're going to be able to just buy the car right there and then, because these dealerships, it's my understanding, Henrik said this, I saw it in the press release as well, they're going to stock their dealership full of inventory, and they're going to prepay for that inventory. Who knows what the price is they're going to get, what the margin discount they get, but they have to obviously mark it up to sell it at the no haggle price. but the inventory is going to be that all 2023 inventory is expected to be totally, wiped out off of Fisker's books, some $290 million by the end. I want to say by the end of Q1 2024, whenever this thing kind of kicks off, is the idea. Let's see here. It says the company anticipates a swift sell-off of the majority of its current vehicle inventory before the close of the first quarter of the year, with a delivery update slated for February. Now, going to that interview, people said to me by email and in the comments, they said, "You don't ask any hard questions." And I said, "Man, I asked 15 questions. I don't always get the answer that I like to hear or worth writing about, like a no comment or we'll share that information at a later time," which happened to be around sales. I wanted to know, is Fisker still building vehicles in Graz, Austria as of right now? I think the answer I already know is no, but I didn't get an answer to that because they already have so much inventory that they need to sell. And they're selling this inventory to dealerships. The second thing is I wanted to know what the current sales were for this, for kind of where we are. And of course, that's going to be issued at a later time, as they mentioned. So the good news is, if you want to buy a Fisker Ocean, there is inventory that is here stateside. Somebody continues to post on the forum the boats that come in with all the vehicles on the boats, and they're still arriving. And I don't know when, so that means there's still cars probably in Graz, Austria that need to still make it here. They're on the boats arriving here soon. But there's going to be plenty of inventory for these dealers, it sure looks like, and a lot of test drive opportunities in the near future for people that want to get behind the wheel. So speaking of test drives, we have a poll question, and that poll question, I was waiting. I've been sitting here looking at this poll question, and it had 99 votes for the longest time. It still has 99. I've been waiting for it to hit 100 before I ended it, and maybe someone can vote who hasn't voted. But I've been trying to stall here because I wanted to see 100 votes on the poll. I haven't voted on the poll because I can't, because I made the poll. Okay, here we go. We got 100. Thank you, whoever just did that. I'm ending the poll. We got 100. Okay, here we go. The poll question, for those that answered the poll or who are listening, we asked the question: have you ever made a car purchase without test driving it beforehand? This kind of ties into the Fisker Ocean meetups and the offering test drives there, the dealers, and all the Center Plus locations and all the pop-up locations Fisker has done. 40% of the people said, no, I always test drive first. That's a big chunk of people. Think of all the reservation holders who need to test drive the car first before purchasing a vehicle. The second choice here, the runner-up for the poll, was yes, I purchased without a test drive, 37%. Well, I didn't get to vote, and I don't know if you voted, Matt. You probably can vote. You're part of the 37%. I would have been a part of that cohort as well, because I purchased without really test driving the car, other than the drive in Graz. And then 20%, they say they prefer to test drive the vehicle, but they could maybe go either way. And then 1% of people said, I considered it, but opted against it. 1%. Maybe that was the last person who just voted. I have no clue. But that was 100 people who voted. So there you go. That is our poll for the day. And thank you, everybody who voted. That was kind of fun. Because it ties into the dealership. I think that's the most. Yep. The reason I created the poll question was because you got to get butts in seats. You got to get people behind the wheel of the Fisker Ocean to sell the car. That's what is needed. And Fisker agreed and admitted that the majority of people who get behind the wheel purchase it because they really like the way the car drives. They enjoy it. It's a good experience, and that's what they need more of. So it's like, how can they replicate all these pop-up events, and how can like the test drives happen? They've happened at a lot of places throughout the country. We've reported on them. We've talked about them. They've been in Washington. They've been all through California. They've been in Miami. They've been in Orlando. I don't think they've been in your neck of the woods up until the meetups. They've been in New York, New Jersey, Boston. I don't know. They've done them all over the place, but they haven't done them everywhere. And one thing I realized is with these meetups, there's a lot of people interested in the Fisker Ocean that live in places that Fisker has not done test drives up into this weekend at the meetups. So I sure hope that the dealers pop up in all these places where we've done these meetups, because these are the hot spots where people follow along on the Fiskerati site. So that's, those are the people who are most interested. We reached out to the people most interested in the Fisker Ocean, and it happened to be all the places where we did the meetup. So pretty neat. What do you got, Matt? You got anything interesting coming up on your YouTube channel, or anything else you want to chat about?
Yeah,
I see some questions up here too.
Yeah, we'll go through some questions too. But one thing I wanted to comment about the dealerships, I think if they get some of the larger dealership chains like AutoNation and
CarMax,
are there regional ones? For example, there's a large dealership chain that is in our area that just got purchased like a couple weeks ago by a Northeast chain. So now they're going to have like 100 dealership sites in this one company, and they'll be all over the East Coast. So if Fisker gets several of these larger companies, they can have in one agreement multiple dealership locations in multiple cities, and I think that'll be important too. And especially a lot of these companies have empty locations. Like, for example, I did my video on the VinFast dealership that opened. The first one in the US opened in my metro area, and the Leith dealership had like about 6 dealerships in that vicinity, and it was an older building that was no longer used, and boom, they get to use it now, and it's being useful. So I think a lot of these companies have sites that probably aren't being used, and now they can use them. So that's going to make money for them. So I hope this works out well.
Yeah, and it's one to many, right? So it's like you end up finding the one company that has 100 dealerships, and boom, you do the deal, and now you're in 100 different locations offering test drives along the East Coast potentially. But there's a lot of dealerships over here like that. You mentioned AutoNation. There's CarMax as well, and there's a lot of empty dealerships here in San Diego too. So it'd be interesting to see, which ones Fisker ends up at. And if I had to guess, I would say Southern California is going to be the first dealer. That's just a pure guess, but just because Fisker's in Manhattan Beach, it just to me feels like they're going to do something close by so that they can learn from it. They can visit the dealership. They can help them get onboarded and create that prototype that they then can replicate all over the nation and in Europe too. So yeah, more to come on that. I'm going to follow, as everyone is probably going to follow that one close. That one's a big one. I think it's a game changer of an opportunity, and we'll have to see how that one pans out. So let's see here. Your YouTube channel, do you have anything interesting you want to talk about that's coming up?
I have a bunch of stuff I'm working on, and one of the things I did recently is a port, the charge port. I don't know if you've seen that video. A lot of EVs have covers over the DC pins.
And I saw your video on that.
The Fisker doesn't have that, but there are several other companies that don't. I know Tesla in Europe doesn't have covers, so there's become a market of people making like 3D printed versions of them that fit in the car. Well, I'm working with a guy in the Northeast who does a lot of accessories for the VW ID4. And he started making one for the Fisker Ocean. So I have a video on that if people want to see it. I saw that. It's like $12 for the cover. It fits on. He has a version 2 that I'm going to be testing soon that will be able to be attached to the charge port door, so you won't lose it. So it'll actually have like a strap to attach to the door.
Okay.
So that'll be
you can pull it out and just let it sit there.
Exactly.
That's very good.
Like some cars have with the gas cap, you have like a tether. So
there
it's
you go.
basically a tether for it. So that's going to be coming soon. I have videos coming out every 2 or 3 days. So I have stuff already planned out through the end of February. So it's kind of crazy how many videos I've
Wow.
worked on.
You got a schedule. You got a schedule of everything.
I have
Good
stuff.
for you.
And I got some new things are coming. I'm going to be working on a spare tire kit. I know a lot of people may be interested in that because almost all the EVs sold these days don't come with spare tires.
No, they don't.
So if you want to go on a trip and you feel uncomfortable with not having one, I'm going to have a solution for that. So that'll be coming up probably within the next month, within the month.
Very cool. Another accessory. Accessory.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of accessories, I got two things to talk about, which I think are interesting. And here is the first one for those. It just happens to be on my desk, and I still haven't opened it. But here is my level 1 Fisker Ocean charger. This is something I planned to open last week, and I haven't had a chance to do it yet. But for those looking at the screen, there you have it. And we'll have to unbox this thing, and it's just sitting over here. But yeah, I think it was like $229 or something like that. And I thought, okay, I probably don't need it, but if I go to Palm Springs again, and if I have issues with the EV charger that's on the property, this will be my go-to right here.
I have a perfect example right now. I'm in an Airbnb right now, and I have my Ocean is charging right now. You can see behind me, there's a still image of it. I have it plugged in and just the regular 120 volt outlet. It's charging. And yeah, so I have a very similar EVSE that I got like yours. It's just the level 1. It's not for everyday charging. It's like when you go on a trip and you need it for emergencies or a place where you're going to park for a while, comes in great. And I definitely recommend getting one if you take trips and you want to just throw it in the cargo area. So you just have it. Why not?
That's what I plan to do. I'm going to open it. I'll record a video of it. I might try it out, make sure it works. And then I'll put it in the back of the trunk, and it'll sit there where I actually store these things. I store all of these in the back of the car too, just so they're out of the way. We've got a small garage. The other thing I wanted to mention, since we're talking about accessories, is I ended up at the meetup. For those that ended up going to the San Diego one, you may have noticed that somebody, if you didn't notice, it was my car, my Fisker Ocean, but I was serving coffee, creamer, and bagels from the back of my Fisker Ocean, and I did it on top of Liner X floor mats of all places. So they actually sent those Liner X floor mats free of charge. They were sent complimentary, and I ended up doing a review on the floor mats, and I really liked them. And they said, "Hey, we do have the cargo ones coming. We'll send them to you when we do." So I installed the cargo one in the back. I let it sit back here on the floor for like a day or two. I think I got it on Thursday. We did the meetup on Saturday. So it sat there until I think like Saturday morning, early morning, I put it in the car. And then I also put the, which I was totally not going to do, but I ended up installing the mats that go on the rear of the rear reclining seats, the back seats. So when it folds down, you have the protection on the cargo liner, but then you also have protection on the back of the seats on that carpeting area. So if you were to put in a big piece of wood or a Christmas tree or whatever you put back there, it doesn't end up maybe damaging the back of the fabric.
I couldn't use that this past weekend, because I had my car filled for the meetup. I had a canopy, I had a table, I had a cooler, I had trash cans, I had it just filled with stuff. And I'm waiting for that same cargo and the seat back thing to arrive so I can do a test too.
There you go. Yeah, no, it was great. I thought it worked out really well. And I didn't know that it's like you didn't know you needed something until you got it. I thought the back of those seat things, I was like, I'm never going to use that. I put them on and I was like, wow, that's actually pretty useful. But the rear cargo liner fits so much better. I ended up giving away to, I think, to Mo, who is somebody I chat with every now and again. He's in San Diego. I gave him the Fisker Ocean one floor mats that Fisker gave me. I handed them to him at the meetup. And then to Mark, I ended up handing him I think I handed him the cargo mat, maybe even I think I handed
and those were WeatherTech Universal.
WeatherTech, trim, right? Yeah, trim to fit. And the rear cargo floor mat fit perfectly. That was like perfect. Like I cut that thing almost perfect. So it would fit really well. The trim to fit WeatherTech floor mats, 3 of them fit good. The rears fit fine. The front passenger fit fine. The driver one, very wonky. I probably needed to cut it more. But I always had those on top of the Fisker floor mats, the sustainable floor mats that I received with my car. So I gave all those away to people at the meetup. I thought, there's nobody better that could use them than owners in San Diego here. And then they're out of the garage. I don't have to worry about them. And so that was a nice thing to get rid of on the weekend. But I am digging the ones that I have in the car now. They all fit perfectly. And I did buy one addition, and you may have noticed the same thing. Maybe you haven't. The front floor mats of the Liner X, I see them kind of popping up a little on the far right and the far left, down in the front side. So in order to combat that, I purchased just the other day at Home Depot or wherever I went, some Velcro, the same type of Velcro that's on the back of those for the cargo mats that go on the back of the rear seats. So there's like special Velcro that sticks into there. I'm using that same Velcro. I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to put that on the front right and left edges of the floor mats to keep them down into the side. So that's my project for tomorrow.
I haven't noticed that problem on mine, but I know that there's some manufacturers that do that. Tux mat that I have for my Tesla includes Velcro on theirs because they have very tall sides on theirs, and if you don't use the Velcro, they kind of flap over. So they're even taller. They're even taller than the Liner X. So that company knew there was an issue, and they included them with those mats. So
So that's the only bit that I have on accessories here. That's my little accessories here. I'm not doing anything, but we got this video coming out here at some point next week. And then somebody sent me footage as well from Europe that I haven't posted yet. I got to go through it and trim it down. It's a very long video with footage of them test driving a Fisker Ocean, I believe in somewhere. I want to say it's not Sweden. It might be Norway, like Oslo, but not sure on that. So I'm going to post that one probably next week as well. And then for anyone who's listening, if you have a Fisker Ocean video and you want to have it posted on YouTube and you don't have a YouTube account, email me a link to it. Send me the footage on Google Drive, Dropbox, however you store your photos, iCloud, and I'm happy to trim it down if it's super long and post it for people to see on our channel, the Fisker Audi channel. So I've always post random stuff, and there's nothing better than actual owners' video and footage. So here's a casting call for people who want to get their footage on the Fisker Audi YouTube channel. Send me your video footage. I'm happy to review it and post it to the Fisker Audi site. So there's that. And then do we have any questions in here? Let me see real quickly. I don't see too many questions.
I've been trying to answer stuff throughout the.
Good.
One of the questions in the beginning was asking if we're shareholders, and I did think we did both post that at some point that we're shareholders. We're both owners, because somebody asked if I was an owner, or I don't know who they were asking, but I'm definitely an owner.
I'm an owner and a shareholder and an enthusiast and somebody that enjoys doing this for fun. I guess that makes me an enthusiast. But yeah, it's been a very interesting hobby, and I never thought I would be doing that. I never thought I'd be on YouTube. You asked me that 2 years ago, I would have told you you're crazy. But now we have a YouTube channel and we're doing this. It's kind of funny. And I go for it. You're up.
I was going to say there's more talk about the PEAR. Nothing really new that we know about the PEAR so far than our previous videos that talked about.
Yeah. And I see Mike joined the chat. He said, I see a thing that says cheers to him. He may have posted more. But Mike, the Fisker Ocean specialist, he has a YouTube channel. He joined us last week. I believe he's on vacation right now, and otherwise he would have joined us for the evening. But shout out to him. He's in the chat. And then somebody who's not in the chat, who I enjoyed talking to him on one of these shows a couple episodes ago, was Mo, who I haven't seen post too much on social media in general. So hopefully he's doing well. If he watches this, which he probably doesn't, hello to Mo, and reach out, and I'll reach out to him again, and maybe he can join us, because he has a different perspective moderating the Reddit forum over there.
Yep.
So let's see here. Anyone order mats from this site? Liner X, I'm guessing. I don't know. But yeah, we did. Both Matt and myself got them.
Yeah,
and,
they're great.
We tested them out. They really are. If I would have bought them, I'd pay for them in a heartbeat. That's why I had to give away my other ones. I was thinking, I got them for free. I got to give them. I actually didn't get the WeatherTech ones for free, but I gave them away for free because I got new ones for free. But they're great. I'd buy them in a heartbeat if I had a Fisker Ocean. You just don't get all the grime in the corners and the edges. Oh, that's
so
gross.
Far.
Wet feet.
So far, I've only seen the Liner X as far as all-weather mats. I've seen there's another company that has fabric mats like the Fisker ones, but I wasn't interested in trying those because I just keep all-weather mats in my car year-round. It's just easier to keep clean. And the fabric ones, I don't know, for my use, they tend to get dirtier faster and harder to keep clean. So I don't even bother reviewing those for most of my channel. Let's see what else we got.
Somebody ended up making a mention here. I don't know what their handle is on here, but they said, yeah, we're still tracking the boats. There's 7,400 Oceans that have arrived in the U.S. ports in 23 and 24. We have plenty here for dealers. Somebody asked, do we still have 60,000 reservations? I remember it being 65,000 reservations. We haven't heard a reservation number count in quite a while. I'm sure there's still quite a lot of reservations out there. People are sitting by. I'm sure there's been quite a few that have been canceled, but people are sitting by waiting to hopefully test drive a Fisker Ocean. That's what I believe. And they're waiting for the lower trims, right? The Sport and the Ultra, which are now starting to reach the shores. So that's of those 77,000 plus Oceans that have arrived here. We don't know what they are. Are they extremes? Are they ultras? Are they sports? If I had to guess, I would say ultras and sports based on early feedback. But everyone's guess is as good as mine. And let's see here. We don't have any update yet on where the PEAR is going to be built. Somebody said, is it going to be built in Ohio? It could be. We don't know. That was kind of the idea, was to have Foxconn build that. We haven't really gotten much of an update there, other than this week we did get an update that the company Fisker has done a deal with one of their bondholders that allows them to do a deal with a strategic OEM, or the strategic OEM will allow them to get renegotiated terms with the bondholder. Primarily, I think it had to do with the intellectual property and things like that. But they cleaned up a bit of their balance sheet, and that's kind of what we have there, from what I remember.
I have a question on my channel. Somebody was asking about for the Fisker, for the Ocean Sport. Do we know anything about the delivery of the Fisker Ocean Sport? Any review? So I don't know if we need to, if anything has changed with the delivery process. Do you know if anything has changed?
For Ocean Sports in particular?
Yeah, sports and ultras. Now that new cars are arriving, is there any differences in the delivery process versus the ones?
I haven't heard of anything changing to the delivery process.
No,
people are still working with vehicle administrators to get take delivery. And supposedly, I mentioned early in the episode that the one person on the Fiskerati forum, at least, posted, "Hey, I was told that I just got the first Ocean Sport," and I believe he's on the East Coast. I want to say New Jersey, if I remember correct, or Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is where he was. So that's where the first Ocean Sport is, and that was earlier in the week. Maybe more have been delivered since.
Now,
as soon as one pops up in Vista, I'll go over there and do a video of it.
Yeah. Also, is the shipping to the home, or I know that was free for one owners, but is it
Mhm.
cost additional money for the Sport and Ultra? That
I haven't
I
seen
forgot
anybody
to ask.
post, and I haven't seen anybody post their invoice, if you will, their buyer's order
Yeah.
since with an extreme, an ultra, or a sport. There's only one sport delivery, but that would be a good question. We could probably ask that on the forum. Someone might be able
Yeah.
to tell us. But with Fisker Ocean ones, people were
Curious.
posting, at least I've seen lots of buyer orders, and it always broke down kind of what the costs were. But yeah, with the other trims, they should be charged. My understanding is they should be charged a delivery fee. That's if they don't pick it up locally. But maybe things have changed. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I would imagine that Fisker is still going to pass that cost on to the customer. Um, but with dealerships, you probably pay some sort of a destination fee, anyways, right? You pay some sort of a fee from at least from garage to wherever the dealer is.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some sort of fee that gets passed on. And then somebody asked here, can you do meetups on Sundays? And I've seen that question asked quite a few times. Sundays, believe it or not, are even harder for people than Saturdays. Maybe not everybody, but a lot of people, because a lot of people go to church and a lot of people start getting ready for the new week. So Sundays are usually worse for meetups than they are on Saturdays, just for the person that asked that question.
Yeah. And most of the places that I do to, like Cars and Coffee and all them, are almost exclusively
Always
on
Saturday.
Saturdays. Yeah,
Yep.
Saturday morning, usually the best I've seen for that, since most people are pretty available on Saturday mornings.
Yeah, and that's kind of been our feedback too when we've tried to plan these. Saturday's always easier for people than Sundays. Doesn't work for everybody, but if people really want to go, they can go on a they can find a way to do it. There are some people who decide to tag along and do Sunday meetups, and one of those was actually in Boston the day after we did the nationwide meetup, and they ended up having 5 people show up, which I think four or five had Fisker Oceans. Were present, so that was kind of neat to see photos of that. That was like a makeshift Boston one, and the weather there looked just as cold as everywhere else. So yeah, that was kind of interesting. Well, cool. I think
one other thing I want to add.
Yeah,
one other thing that's not in this chat, but I've noticed other people asking me on my channel is about aftermarket wheels and tires. Right now, I've looked on Tire Rack. Even yesterday, I looked at Tire Rack and Discount Tire. Neither of them have the Fisker Ocean listed, but they don't have any available wheels yet. And that's been like that for several months now. I don't know when they're going to be available or not, but from what I've heard and researched, the equivalent wheel that will work on the Ocean is a Toyota, a BZ4X, and the Subaru Solterra, those two twin EVs. The 20-inch wheels for those are the same specs as for the Ocean 20-inch wheels. So eventually in the spring, I'm going to order some aftermarket wheels and do some tests on my car. And probably I'll do the opposite of what most people do. Most people get aftermarket wheels to put winter tires on, but my area really doesn't get cold enough for winter tires. So I'm going to put summer tires on these alternate wheels for when I'm going to be testing. In the springtime, I'm going to go to the track and I'm going to be testing acceleration and the boost and all that fun stuff when it gets warmer. And I'm going to have a set of these lighter, smaller wheels. And I can't wait to test that out in the spring. And then my regular 22-inch all seasons will be just for normal use. So so that'll be something I'm looking at. But I'm surprised that there's not really aftermarket stuff that's easily available. Some people have mentioned going to some tire shops and they custom sized and found wheels that will work. But right now I haven't noticed anything that you can just go and search. And like I said, Tire Rack is a very big
that's popular
wheel company around the country, and I'm surprised they haven't added anything yet.
Yeah, and a PSA for people as well. Make sure if you have a Fisker Ocean and you have, I don't know, maybe right when you take delivery of your Fisker Ocean and then a few thousand miles after, make sure you're checking the tire pressure. in your wheels, especially with the cold weather that we've had. I have, you mentioned Discount Tire, and it made me think of that. Discount Tire offers free air pressure checks on your car. Just make sure you remind the person to put the little cap back on if they don't, or double check that after you go. Make sure they're tight.
They're also great for doing, if you get a flat tire, they'll do free patches.
Correct.
Too, which
they do free patches.
Very nice. Yeah. Or plugs.
That's another nice service. Yeah, they put the plug in, cut it, or do whatever the heck they do. But that's a neat process that they do.
Yeah.
I have seen somebody post, or they actually post, I forgot where they posted it, probably on the Facebook group. They ended up saying that they ended up having a flat tire. They took it in somewhere to get fixed. And I want to say they had the air glider wheels, and the person that was fixing the tire accidentally tipped the wheel over onto the nice shiny bit of the side of the wheel, totally scuffed it and scratched it and got it all damaged. Yeah, it's such a bummer. But things happen, I guess. Another thing to remind them of, not to scratch your wheels when they take them, if they have to take it off. Or put down a nice mat for them. So that's kind of funny. And then in the forum, I was just pulled up the forum to see if there's anything interesting on here. But let's see here. Not anything. There's not too much interesting stuff on here. But for those that the thing that keeps popping up time and time again is that I see that I started at least was I captured screenshots of me amending my 2022 tax return. So I get questions about that. It seems like every other day, and
that comes up on Facebook a lot too. I've been answering those.
Yeah, so you just got to you can follow the process I followed. If you use TurboTax, they make it really simple. But for everyone else, we can read the information I posted. You'll see it in the top of the forum, but then always consult your own tax advisor because everyone's tax situation is different. But the forum is always a fun place. And it's always nice to go on there and see what people are talking about. And that's that. But that's it. I got nothing else over here. We chatted for about an hour and a half, and we hopefully got everyone caught up. Hopefully everybody learned a new insight. Make sure to stay tuned. I don't know if we're doing this next week, but if we aren't, Friday is the day Fisker will be live streaming, hopefully, or presenting over at that NADA show. That's going to be, I think, a good update, and maybe we'll see some press releases or something leading up to that. At least I'm hoping for it. But that's it. This is episode 38 of All Things Fisker. I can't believe we've done 38 of these. And we will see you on the next episode. Thanks everybody for joining us tonight. It's been fun. All right, take care.
Good night.